Hey guys, how are you doing? Today in this video, we are going to talk about vitamin D deficiency, India's new pandemic. Vitamin D deficiency has reached epidemic proportions in India, impacting children, the elderly and working professionals alike. According to a study, approximately 46% of children may suffering from rickets and 80 to 90% of our elderly face osteoporosis and long-term disability. And it is not just about bones, it is about national productivity, economic burden, and preventable sufferings. In this video, we will bust the myths, explain the science, and understand why sunlight, our natural source of vitamin D, is now ironically missing from our lives. Let's uncover the truth behind India's silent micronutrient crisis. We'll begin this video with newspaper headlines, and you might have come across like this newspaper headlines: one in every 5 Indians suffer from vitamin D deficiency. And what is interesting here, a line if you can read, experts warns that vitamin D deficiency extends beyond skeletal disorders such as rickets and osteomalacia. Okay, this news was in I think Indian Express. The research conducted by the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relationship with Anvika Foundation, right? You might cross check it. Vitamin D deficiency poses public health challenges. This is from the Hindu. Vitamin D deficiency has reached epidemic proportion in India, and ignoring it could have a serious health consequences. We are going to talk about it. But first, let's discuss about basic of vitamins. Let me first tell you, if you guys understand what vitamins are actually. Vitamins, they are essentially, if we were to say vitamins, there are 13, in numbers. And they are called essential vitamins. They are called essential vitamins. Essential in science language, essential means they must be supplied in your diet. Okay, and there is two broad categories according to your, they dissolve. One is called fat soluble vitamins. These vitamins need fats, as a medium, fat soluble vitamins. And the second one is called water soluble vitamins. You must have, you must be remembering it from your school days. And others are called water soluble vitamins. Okay, water soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins, they must be supplied in regular basis, right? Because they are usually, washed away with urine. And you remember it like vitamin A, D, E, K, ADEC. You can make acronyms like ADEC. Okay, and remainings are B complex. They are 18 numbers, right? We'll talk about them in detail because that is also important. B1 is called thiamine. B2 is technically called, scientifically called riboflavin. B3 niacin. B5 pantothenic acid. B6 B6 pyridoxine. B7 biotin. B9 folate or folic acid, and B12 is called cyanocobalamin or cobalamin vitamins because it has to do with cobalt. It is cobalt containing vitamins. These two plays essential role in RBC formation also, right? Vitamin B12 plays very important role in neurotransmission, nerve cells, basically neurons. Okay, so remember these things. And these vitamins A, D, E, K, they are stored in liver. So if you can draw a basic structure of liver is metabolic factory of our body. Okay, so liver plays very important role. Liver is reddish brown color structures, है ना? तो let me इसके two lobes होते हैं. We'll talk about this basic science. और अगर आपने इसका बेसिक साइंस कभी किया है तो मैं आपको बता दूं, जो इसका कलर होगा, it is like reddish brown color. This one, I think this one, roughly like this. Okay, so I am choosing the color for, this color is for basically liver. Okay, this color is for liver. तो this is the liver, है ना? और liver के साथ क्या जुड़ा होता है? Gall bladder. Gall bladder is attached to liver. Okay, all of the blood from our gut basically. So if we talk about, these are our guts, and stomach, and then small intestine. This blood goes to, all nutrient first go to, a liver, through portal vein. This is called portal vein, by the way, है ना? So just remember this thing about portal vein. And then there are many functions of liver, and one of the main function is this is portal vein. Okay, one of the main function is, this is basically metabolic factory, right? Metabolize. There are biochemical reactions which are going on all the times in liver, right? And the another function of liver is what? Producing, producing bile juice, right? This bile juice should not be very thick, है ना? पतला होना चाहिए bile. So it means your this system is working well. This is gallbladder. But apart from this, what my point was here, it is storing house also, right? It stores these vitamins. And apart from liver, what it does actually, liver stores vitamin A, D, E, K, and apart from this, vitamin B12 is also stored in liver. And all other vitamins are not stored in liver. Another important vitamin is vitamin C, ascorbic acid, which is called, right? So vitamin D is this, right? And liver, not only I am going to talk today about the vitamin D. Vitamin D is chemically, we are going to talk, it is steroid actually. It behaves like hormone, right? We are going to talk about it. Okay, so this is the basic thing. All these things go through liver, and their metabolism starts, and then they are got back to the system, right? Okay, so vitamin D, let me tell you, vitamin D, suppose vitamin D is also called sunshine vitamin, and vitamin D has actually two basic part. One is called cholecalciferol. So one part cholecalciferol technically, right? Okay, this is called D3. This D3 is called cholecalciferol. Okay, and this is primarily, it is made from sunlight. Okay, another one is called D2. This is called argocalciferol. These are scientific name, calciferol. Okay, this is given argocalciferol and cholecalciferol. Vitamin D, let me tell you about vitamin D. It acts as hormones. Most important concept which you should understand, this hormone is chemically, if I tell you chemically, it is derived from cholesterol. It is derived from cholesterol, right? हमारी स्किन पे जैसे ही सनलाइट पड़ती है, अल्ट्रावायलेट बी है ना, कोलेस्ट्रॉल, तो it is derived from cholesterol. Okay, and it behaves like steroidal. Recent study says it behaves like steroid hormone, right? It behaves like steroid hormone. This vitamin D3, what happens actually? This undergoes, metabolism. So, okay, let me show you this. This undergoes metabolism in liver and kidney with the help of liver and even in kidney also. It is made into calcitriol. This is active form of vitamin D. Active form of vitamin D. This is active form of vitamin D. I hope, again, just a minute, active form of vitamin D. Okay, and once I say, once I say it is basically, if I say it is basically what? Hormone, then it simply means, it is like, it is like testosterone, steroid and estrogen, So hormone mean, hormone much like your sex hormones, testosterone, like testosterone, male hormone, basically male sex hormone. It is like oxytocin. Oxytocin is called love hormone, right? Like oxytocin. Okay, and so what happens actually, when it is active, calcitriol, it binds with BDR, vitamin D receptors. So it binds with, let me tell you, it binds with vitamin D receptor, and we simply call it VDR. And once it binds with VDRs, it influences gene expression, right? It, what it does, it influences gene expression. मतलब आपको समझ में आ गया होगा, it is not only vitamin, not only nutrition, it can affect our gene expression also, right? It is much like, hormones, affecting our gene expression. It can make our genes on and off. That is again most important thing. It means it can regulate what? Once I say all of these things, you should try to understand. So if I say it is vitamin, then you should understand it. I am saying it is, if it is like hormone, and if it can turn on and off a gene, it simply means it influences what? It can influence what? It can influence immune system. इट इज नॉट अबाउट आवर बोन्स ओनली, है ना, इम्यून सिस्टम को भी इंपैक्ट करता है. इट इम्पैक्ट इन्फ्लामेशन इन बॉडी. इन्फ्लामेशन is a very serious thing in our body, you know, which is technically sometimes called, you know what, inflammation is basically infection, kind of infection, right? It phosphate balance, है ना, it is basically, it has to do about phosphate balance, है ना. इसका काम क्या करना है, फॉस्फेट बैलेंस करना है. सेलुलर ग्रोथ एंड रिपेयर, सेलुलर ग्रोथ एंड रिपेयर, ये सब काम है इसके. तो मैं आपको सबसे पहले ये बताना चाह रहा था कि इसका काम केवल क्या नहीं है, इसका केवल काम, अगेन यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई वांट टू टेल यू अगेन. विटामिन डी इज नॉट टेक्निकली अ विटामिन एट ऑल. What is it? It is basically a steroid hormone. It acts much like steroid hormone, like estrogen, testosterone, cortisol. You know, for example, you know, if like cortisols also, you know, in our body, cortisol is there, right? It behaves like all of this. Okay, and therefore it has to do with our immunity. It has to do with you know, gene expression. You know, you should understand all of these things. This is the recent study about vitamin D. Okay, so it is not simple nutrient basically. It is full-fledged hormonal player. You know what it is doing, it is orchestrating critical biological processes at cellular level, molecular level basically. Okay, that is what vitamin D is. I hope you have understood it. Okay, so it absorbs not only calcium but phosphate and magnesium also. You know, that is again primary function of vitamin D. Okay, if you were to talk about sources, once you have sunlight and in your skin, you know, adipose tissues are found in our skin. If we have cholesterol in our skin, it is converted into cholecalciferol with the help of ultraviolet B. You know, UA ultraviolet B, UVA, sorry, ultraviolet B. Yeah, so there are three kinds of ultraviolet, much like we have Vibgyor, ultraviolet A, ultraviolet B, ultraviolet C. Right? Ultraviolet C has too much energy and it can cause skin cancer also. It can alter our DNA. Right? Vitamin D is primarily, it is made in the presence of ultraviolet B type of radiation. It is in between A and B, so energy is increasing downwards, right? Where do you get all of this? You get in fatty fish, eggs, mushrooms, liver, cheese, fortified products like milk, है ना, margarines, yogurts, juices and cereals. Okay, that is the idea about the vitamin D. Okay, so what is the key finding of the studies done? Now let's focus on this part. 1 in 5 Indians are vitamin D deficient. That is one study. You know, that study was again, as I have said, it was done by, you know, this Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relation with Anvika Foundation. Right? That is the study basically. It was done, and they says there is regional variation in the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency ranging from 9.4% in North India to as 38.81% in East India, approximately 40%, right? Children, adolescent, pregnant women and elderly are most vulnerable. That is another part of the study. Women across all age group are more vulnerable. The indoor lifestyle of urban Indians is contributing to the rising prevalence of vitamin D. And milk and edible oils for fortification and infusion of vitamin D is the list. You know, we are going to talk about it. But okay, let me show you something first. Okay. Let me tell you why low sunlight exposure. You know, you should address this problem. Why low sunlight exposure? By low light में क्यों नहीं जा रहे? What are the reasons? You know, suppose if you were to enumerate reasons, number one is basically rising pollution level also, you know, which is also shown in my, you know, thumbnail. Rising pollution level. This pollution level, what it is doing, it is basically blocking ultraviolet B radiation. You know, it is not reaching to the earth, you know, or to us, right? Urbanization, high-rise building, for example, you know, rapid urbanization. This is what is happening, you know. So मैं टेढ़ी में लिख रहा हूँ इनको, तो so just don't worry. Rapid urbanization, right? Rapid urbanization, for example, high-rise buildings, you know, and in high-rise buildings, it is ironically, you know, there is no sunlight exposure actually. Okay. Third one is basically modern lifestyle, है ना, सुबह उठे and we go to office, then we came back when there is no sun. Modern lifestyle है ना, 10 बजे उठ गए सुबह मान लो, और उसके बाद फिर सीधे 7 बजे घर आ रहे हो, तो this is fast, you know, fast paced life जिसको कहते हैं ना, fast paced life. You know, this is what is happening in urban setup. You know, again, For example, climate extremities, climatic extremities. Climatic extremities, for example, if there is too cold or too hot, very hot summers. For example, these days you cannot go out in summers, right? And there is sometimes there are cold winters, and if cold winters में sun में जाना तो अच्छा लगता है, but suppose there is wind is also blowing, cold wind blowing, right? तो आप क्या करोगे? Avoid करोगे sunlight exposure. Then sunscreen, full body covering. People use sunscreen, है ना? और उसके अलावा आपको क्या है? फुल बॉडी कवरिंग, दैट इज अनदर प्रॉब्लम. इफ योर स्किन इज नॉट एक्सपोज्ड, फुल बॉडी कवरिंग, राइट? इफ स्किन इज नॉट basically naked, then how would this vitamin D will be synthesized, right? Another natural, and this is another interesting part, natural high melanin melanin content, right? जो हमारी स्किन में melanocytes होते हैं, and what they do actually, they release melanin, and melanin, our color is because of melanin. अगर melanin ज्यादा होगा तो विटामिन डी कम होगा, ये ध्यान रखना है. if your skin is not complexion kind of, not very fair, then what it is going to happen, विटामिन डी बनने में टाइम लगेगा, क्योंकि ultraviolet rays will not penetrate our skin, right? Okay. And most importantly, low diet like issues, and diet, which is basically lacking what? Green leafy vegetables, which are part of calcium also, है ना? उसके अलावा for example fish, low diet fish, eggs, cheese, है ना? For that matter mushrooms, etc. This is what is lacking actually. That is one part of the problem. I hope you have understood it. Okay. So suppose one is deficient in vitamin D. What is going to happen if your body is deficient of vitamin D? Children are primarily, what is the deficiency? So deficiency leads to kind of problems. Deficiency can be studied, with two head in children, right? In children, right? And in adults. Okay. In children separately, in adults. In children, we call this disease is called basically rickets, है ना? सूखा रोग भी कहते हैं उसको, right? Rickets. Okay. So rickets is basically what? If you say rickets are basically simply weak and fragile bones, right? So it is characterized with weak and fragile bones. Weak and fragile bones. Bones are very fragile, right? They are vulnerable, right? And then there will be softening of skulls, right? So I can use another pen. So it will leads to what? Softening of skull, delay in softening of skull, delay teeth formation, right? Delayed teeth formation, है ना? Formation. और होगा क्या एक्चुअली, मैं आपको बता देता हूँ. What will happen, children's will be or child will be vulnerable to fracture, you get fracture easily, right? Okay. Another thing is called, it is called bow legs, there is one condition, bow legs. And bow leg disease is basically what? They are formed like bow, है ना? तो अगर ये bone है ऐसी, तो ये bone ऐसे bend हो जाएगी अंदर की ओर इस टाइप से. And this kind of bending will be, this kind of bending will be, and this bending will be like this, this kind of bending, okay. I am not making kneecap, right? Okay, patella, which we call, but roughly इस टाइप का स्ट्रक्चर हो जाएगा. ओके. तो ये दिस इज सिंबल, है ना? केवल सिंबॉलिक है, मतलब सिंबॉलिक पिक है. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग माय पॉइंट, है ना? तो इस टाइप का कुछ हो जाएगा. बोन्स मतलब इस टाइप के मुड़ जाएंगे. क्यों मुड़ेंगे? इसका सीधा सीधा कॉन्सेप्ट है, bone bends because these bends because body weight increased, when child grows, है ना? तो child growth के साथ क्या होगा? Weight increases, okay, and weight increase के साथ क्या होगा? Bones are weak. Bones are weak. If bones are weak, they are not able to support this much weight. That is one problem of the leg bones. They diverge like, okay. तो इसको knock-knee disease भी कहते हैं. If they keep, bow leg, or this is sometimes called knock-knee disease. Knock-knee disease. Okay, knock-knee disease. Osteoporosis. If we talk about, there are two cases, right? Okay. One is called osteomalacia. One is osteo mean haddi, bones. Let me write first together, and it is read as osteomalacia. Osteomalacia. Osteo means bone basically. It means osteo mean bone. Malacia means softening of bones. So therefore, if it is about softening of bones, it is Rickets equivalent in, we can say it is Rickets equivalent in adults. Rickets equivalent in adults. Okay, like you and me, we can suffer from osteomalacia if our vitamin D is not sufficient in our body for long many times, right? So this is the idea of, so what happens basically in adults, there is a demineralization of bones. Okay, so bone softening is because of demineralization. Demineralization. Let me remind you something. Our bones are a storehouse of calcium, right? So let me remind you something. Bones are, and our body, bones. They are storehouse of, bones are storehouse of calcium, and calcium is found like Ca3PO4 whole twice, right? This is called calcium phosphate. This is called calcium phosphate. Primarily in calcium phosphate, right? तो bones have calcium phosphate. Okay, तो जब भी बॉडी में कैल्शियम की जरूरत पड़ेगी तो क्या होगा? Calcium will be taken from bones, and once there is less supply of calcium, because vitamin D, what it does, vitamin D helps in calcium, what is called, it helps in, vitamin D helps in absorption of calcium, active absorption of calcium. Okay, this is the function of not only calcium but calcium, phosphorus, है ना, उसके अलावा magnesium and so on and so forth. And once it is converted into calcitriol steroid hormone, then what it does, it controls metabolism of calcium. Okay, and sometimes demineralization is because there is less supply, supply is sunk, okay, तो supply कम हो जाएगी तो क्या होगा? Deposition, calcium phosphate deposition, low calcium phosphate deposition, low calcium phosphate deposition. P mean phosphate, okay, deposition. P mean deposition, right? So thigh bones, hip bones, they will be vulnerable to, like thigh bone, है ना? तो जो thigh bone होती है femur, जो largest bone है ना femur, okay, है ना? Hip bone for example, they will be weak, है ना? They are going to be weak, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the person will be vulnerable to fracture, right? Another is called osteoporosis, which is again it has to do with low calcium. Osteoporosis, porosis simple mean pores, right? Actually, तो एक लाइन में अगर आप कहोगे तो क्या कहोगे? Porous bones. These bones are porous bones basically, right? And if there is low calcium diet, therefore it means vitamin D is less, so no absorption of calcium, and it has to do with basically what? Brittle, they become porous and brittle also, है ना? तो brittle mean they, once if there is kind of, अगर किसी ने इस पर चोट मार दी, it will be like a powdery structure, they become powdery, right? Okay, it has many regions. For example, osteoporosis has many regions. For example, it has low calcium diet, one region is low calcium diet, but I want to focus on female. Suppose female reaches the age of where there is menopause, so low estrogen, low estrogen in female, इसलिए females में जनरली ये प्रॉब्लम देखने को मिल सकती है, और लो एस्ट्रोजन मेनोपॉज के कारण भी हो सकता है ना? ओके, लो एस्ट्रोजन लेवल, मेनोपॉज, है ना? ओवरेरियन कैंसर, ovarian cancer, and maybe some kind of steroidal drugs, if one is taking. So low estrogen also results into osteoporosis. So this is one part of the problem, technically, this is one thing, right? So what can be done now? Quickly, some roadblocks in addressing, vitamin D. So roadblocks are, what are the problems actually? Problems are limited coordination across multiple agencies, lack of comprehensive vision document with clear targets, gaps in food fortification, high cost of testing and treatments, limited multi-stakeholders partnership, है ना? तो आपके पास अगर मेंस में कभी जरूरत पड़े इस टाइप का आंसर बनाने की, तो you can write all these lines like lack of awareness of vitamin D deficiency, dietary challenges, limited data for data driven policy, right? These are the roadblocks. So how to address these problems basically? Okay, so let me tell you one thing about addressing these problems. UNICEF issued a guidelines note on large scale food fortification for prevention of, this is most important line, prevention of micronutrient deficiency in children, women and communities in December 2023, right? अब एक बात समझने की कोशिश करना, विटामिन डी फूड व्हीकल्स कौन कौन से हो सकते हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल व्हीट फ्लोर, है ना, आटा जो हम रोज खाते हैं, आयरन, जिंक, सेलेनियम, विटामिन ए, डी, B1, B2, है ना। जैसे आयोडीन डेफिशिएंसी को, आयोडीन को कैसे खत्म किया, आयोडीन डेफिशिएंसी को इंडिया में आयोडीनाइज्ड सॉल्ट, दैट काइंड ऑफ आयोडीनाइज्ड सॉल्ट, है ना, आयोडीन युक्त जो नमक था। तो जब इस टाइप का अगर हम देखेंगे तो आप देखोगे आटा में ये सब मिलाया जा सकता है, विटामिन B1, B2, B3, B6, B9, फोलेट व्हिच इज मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट, एंड इवन कोबलामिन। अगर मेज फ्लोर की बात करें तो मक्के का जो आटा है, मकई का, आयरन, जिंक, विटामिन ए, डी, अगेन ऑल ऑफ दीज विटामिन्स इंक्लूडिंग मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट बी कॉम्प्लेक्स विटामिन्स, है ना। तो ये सब इसमें आ सकते हैं। ध्यान से देखना, इसमें विटामिन सी नहीं है बस, है ना, अराउंड ऑलमोस्ट ऑल द विटामिन्स आर देयर। Rice is one of the most important food vehicle for large scale fortification and rice fortification, आपने पढ़ा भी होगा recently न्यूज में, तो we are going to talk about that also। Iron, zinc, selenium, है ना, विटामिन A, D, again B complex is there। Oil में आप A, D and E को क्या कर सकते हो, इंक्लूड कर सकते हो। Milk is again one of the most important food vehicle, right? So vitamin A, D, iron and folate, folic acid can be fortified with milk, right? So this is most important. What can be done? Recommendations, enhance interministerial partnership and coordination, develop a comprehensive vision documents. This is what we can do, to solve problems like, it is all over entire nation when going through some kind of deficiency, right? Launch a nationwide vitamin D kuposhan mukt bharat, है ना, bridge the gaps in food fortification, focus on supplementation as targeted intervention, reduce cost of treatment and testing, है ना, टेस्टिंग भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है भाई, strengthening funding and research to combat vitamin D and data infrastructure, और मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर्स की पार्टनरशिप की इसमें क्या है, जरूरत है ना। तो दिस इज what can be done to address this problem of vitamin D, right? And apart from that, PDS system can be done well, right? Public distribution system, so that one gets fortified what? These fortified foods, right? Project Dhoop was launched by Food Safety and Standard Authority of India in collaboration with NCRT, right? If you know about it, with NDMC is also a stakeholder, MCD is also a stakeholder in Delhi region, right? Okay, so this is what can be done to solve this kind of problems. Again, people should be sometimes if need is there, people can take supplement also under supervision, okay, and they should include diets like green vegetables, fish, eggs, mushrooms, right? And if you eat non-veg, then liver, cheese, and high vitamin D content in सब में ध्यान रखना, okay? So this is what can be done. All right. So we are not going ahead with this video. It was just important video for you. If you want to write few mains answer, answer writing practice, you can write like this. Vitamin D deficiency in India has reached alarming proportions with serious implication for public health and productivity. Discuss the cause. जब आप ये आंसर करने की कोशिश करोगे, you will learn a lot. Suggest sustainable, strategies to address it. Okay. How does vitamin D deficiency impact India's demographic dividend and national productivity? है ना? तो इसका लेना देना आपका economic productivity से भी है. Examine the need for a policy level intervention to address this silent epidemic. है ना? तो food fortification is one of the most important, thing, which you can talk, right? Despite abundant sunlight, India faces a paradoxical crisis of vitamin D deficiency. Discuss the scientific and social paradox behind this and suggest technology-backed solution to counter it. Okay, so you can write all of these answers. Again, I want to tell you, because of the development in science and technology, our refined understanding about vitamin D is, it is not technically a vitamin at all. In scientific terms, it is now recognized as a steroid hormone, much like, as I have told you, estrogen, testosterone, sex hormones, cortisol. Why? Primarily because of its origin, right? It is originated, it is made from cholesterol, है ना? So once we say it is vitamin and vitamin D is hormone, So its active form is called calcitriol, which primarily controls metabolism of calcium. So much so it is now it can turn our genes on and off. It can influence our genetic, it can influence immunity, it can influence, cellular growth at molecular level or cellular level, okay, right? That is most important aspect about vitamin D. Okay, so we wind up this video. Thank you so very much, guys. So if you like our video, don't forget to hit subscribe button, don't forget to hit like button, share and comment also. So we'll meet in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Thank you so very much.